We welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger. Pleased to welcome in a good friend, the man, the myth, the legend. He is Brian Jones, CBS college football analyst. BJ, how the hell are you, man?
My man, Patrick. Hey, Roger. Man, I'm hanging in there. I'm doing well. Just trying to bring in this new year and forget about last year, but no one will ever forget about last year. That's how monumental it was.
No.
And totally on a whole nother level. But I'm doing well, man. Hope you cats are doing okay.
Yeah, man. We're laying low, as our boy John Rothstein says. We're trying to stay positive and test negative. That's what we're all about.
There you go.
Hey,
yes, sir.
Before we get into kind of college football as a whole, let's talk about the alma mater. You know, they make the move. Tom Herman out, Steve Sarkisian in. Kind of give me your thoughts. Was it time? Had Herman run his course? Had he kind of hit his ceiling? And then Sarkisian, kind of give me your feel on all this.
Well, yes. Yes, to both of your questions, it had run its course. It was time, and the die was cast way earlier in the season when they lost to TCU.
Mm-hmm.
And no knock on Gary Patterson and TCU. Gary Patterson is one of the better coaches in the country, in the game, but they shouldn't have a winning record versus University of Texas, and they shouldn't be beating them, each and every year or every 2 years and things of that nature. So they need to be more competitive. And I understand we're in a surreal environment and things have been turned upside down, but yet this is your fourth year on the 40 acres and you see a lot of the similar problems resurface. And yes, there was an overhaul on the staff to a certain extent, but it just wasn't enough. And while the optics may appear to be somewhat tone deaf, considering we are dealing with a pandemic and you've had to lay off people left and right and not fill certain positions in your athletic department. The big brands like a University of Texas, they have other means and resources they can tap into outside those that are meant just for the school in general. So there are other coffers you can dig into and amass the necessary funds needed to make the change that everyone sought. So I'm ecstatic about it, to tell you the truth, man. I think Coach Sark's going to come in and do a great job. This is exactly what I wanted when there were overtures made to Urban Meyer, and we knew that there was going to be a change imminent. I wanted just a dyed-in-the-wool football coach, and I think Sarkisian is that. Also, he's human, and we have seen his failings. They've been out in the general public for all to see and to opine, and he's come through that fire, and he's a better person for it. So, as long as he continues to fight a good battle and exercise those personal demons, we know his football prowess is second to none offensively. I think it's going to be a great hire. He knows how championship teams are built, having now been there at Alabama for a couple of years, playing our coaching championship teams along with Pete Carroll at USC. I would hope some of that gravy on Pete Carroll and Nick Saban's plate spilled over onto his plate to where he now, in a third opportunity, can be a head coach that can sit a spell and return Texas to the promised land.
It's interesting because I think Steve Sarkisian reminds me a lot of Ed Orgeron. Sark had more success in his early coaching career than Orgeron did, but they both fell victim to personal demons. And Orgeron was able to learn and grow from it and turn into a better football coach, realized that he needed to surround himself with great X's and O's guys, and he could handle the recruiting and the motivating, and he did that. I feel like Sarkisian in a lot of ways can be that same guy. Yes, he's a fantastic offensive mind, but as long as he takes care of himself personally and surrounds himself with the right people, especially defensively, and recruit to a great fertile recruiting ground in Texas, he can have some success just like Orgeron did.
Listen, we all have things we've had to overcome personally. I don't care how well you're doing in life, how lofty a perch you currently sit on. There are some things, some trials and tribulations, and if you haven't experienced that, just keep living. And my colleague Aaron Taylor always says it's the United States of second chances, and a lot of us, we get second, third, and fourth chances. Here's Sark now with a grand opportunity to return to the sidelines as a head coach at a premier university. And, I always like to say we're always seeking leaders, men and women without faults. Well, there aren't any.
Right.
So you would just hope that those who've had some missteps, that they recognize that, grow from it, and keep on moving. Because that's what it's about, man. We're going to all stub our toe. We're going to all fail. Now, the majority of us, luckily, they get to keep all those missteps personal.
Right.
And within their little network of friends or family. It's not, blotted all over the public sphere and the internet and what have you. And so I'll say this, Patrick, about Coach Sark. Here's a guy who's coaching at USC, coaching at Washington prior to that, and yet he was dealing with serving two masters.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever issues he was trying to lick and being the CEO of some mighty huge football programs, University of Washington, SC. SC is in that blue blood category.
Yeah.
So to be able to still succeed to a certain extent while serving those masters, that's pretty impressive. And I'm not, defending or making excuses for whatever he did. The guy fell on his sword and he paid the price and he's rehabilitated himself and now has a new lease on life, especially as far as his coaching career is concerned. But the fact that he was able to navigate that as long as he did and keep that under wraps, that right there, it's pretty impressive to me. Now you got a guy that's pretty damn clean and just think how much more focus and how much more vigor and determination he can allow or allocate towards just being a football coach.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned people overcoming things, and BJ, you overcame having to spend a week with me in Hambone. So that's, if you can't, I mean, there's nothing greater to overcome than that.
Some of the best times of my life, and we had a blast. We always had fun. We got the work done, but we made sure we were going to have a blast after all the work was done.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a week well spent. I mean, you did drop me off at that one little choke and puke, though, and I was a little scared when you left me. But
it happens, man.
Other than that, yeah.
It happens. Hey, we're talking to Brian Jones, college football analyst for CBS. As you look at sort of the landscape of college football, is there a bit, and you mentioned, look, when you buy out Malzahn, when you buy out Herman, when you're getting rid of these coaches, yes, that's private money that's coming in. That's, the millionaires, the billionaires that are your financiers coming in and saying, we want to change. Yeah, the athletic department pays for it, but they basically get reimbursed by the millionaires and the billionaires. But is there some PR black eye with the idea that while there are programs that are being cut, while there are employees in the athletic departments that are being either furloughed or just outright fired and cut, is there some PR black eye to spending these millions of dollars on these coaches in the midst of this pandemic when so much other stuff is going on financially, even though we know that the money for this is coming from private donors?
True to all that, and to my earlier statement about the optics not being ideal, and they understand that, but we knew that heading into this season, even before we knew we were going to have a season, when you had different university presidents, athletic directors, commissioners saying, well, we'll probably have athletes on campus, but no students on campus. So that right there pulled back the curtain on all this amateurism BS. Oh, so they're not really student athletes if there are no students on campus, yet the athletes are on campus. And why are they on campus? Because they make those big checks become real.
Yeah.
That's why. They are the golden goose. And you want to protect the golden goose that lays the golden egg, man. So, a lot of things have come to the forefront where we have unmasked the true meaning, behind the sport. And we all have known that it's a big-time billion-dollar business. I mean, look at the amount of money you make on these playoff games, and just imagine the viewership you're going to have for the championship game, Bama and Ohio State, through the roof, man. So this is a business. There's no shame in just admitting that, and the only reason they don't admit it because the NCAA and its member institutions want to keep this antiquated business model in place because it has protected them and it has allowed them to not slice that pie up as proportionately as it should be. So I understand why they take the stance that they do, but everyone knows that the optics are bad. But the only way you change their behavior is how? Is if you don't watch, you don't tune in. When we go back to full stadiums, you don't show up. And you know how difficult that's going to be to get people to buy into that whole rebellion, if you will. It just ain't going to happen. So I'm happy there's been some movement with these legislatures as far as name, image, and likeness. And that's a step in the right direction. And I'll say this on the subject, Patrick, when you watch a kid like Justin Fields the other night take that wicked shot from Skalski, the linebacker at Clemson, go get shot up, and that's exactly what happened in that tent. He went and got some good meds. He was numbed out of his side and his mind, and he was flawless when he was injected back into that contest. And the fact that he is willing, one, and two, is asked of him to partake of that type of procedure so he can get back out there and not only entertain the masses and help his team to an impressive victory, but also to generate millions of dollars for that institution. And for those out there, I can hear them now say, well, you get your free education. He doesn't get anything free. You earn your scholarship.
Yeah.
You earn your education. So nothing is given to him. So we need to drop the use of that verb. But my point is this. There is nothing amateur about a dude going in a tent and being shot up to where he can't feel his entire side, and then going back onto a violent playing field. Nothing amateur about that at all. If that's the case, let's start shooting up kids in Pop Warner, in junior high, and in high school. And I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I agree with you, and that's why I like the name, image, and likeness. I will say this too, BJ, and I know we try to stay away from politics when we can, but with the Senate having flipped now because of the two races in Georgia, the chance that the names, image, and likeness stuff gets through Congress faster and probably more to the benefit of the athletes is at hand with a Democratic Senate as well as a Democratic House.
True, and that's true. But to their credit, we've seen across the nation states like California with a Democratic governor, states like the one I live in, Florida, with a Republican governor, and other states that have joined in this effort to let's say renovate and revise this relationship between collegiate athlete and the institution. So it's been across the board bipartisan as far as that's concerned. If only that could happen in every element of our society.
Yeah, that's true. Talking to Brian Jones, CBS college football analyst. All right, who do you like in the game, BJ?
I am leaning Bama expressly because of what we just discussed with Justin Fields. Now, if this guy was 100%, and he's practiced the last few days, so I'm hearing he's been okay. It's one thing to practice, and no one's trying to, induce a bowel movement by, knocking fire out of you. And it's another, being there with your homeboys when they know it's not to touch the guy with the red jersey. So
right.
I'm leaning towards Bama because I'm not so sure he's going to be willing to run. You saw him when he came into the ball game the other night that when there were opportunities for him to take off, he didn't. He didn't take those chances. So he was definitely very protective of that injury, or at least the pain that he was dealing with. So we'll see if he's more mobile. If he is, those are the type of quarterbacks that have given Nick Saban in Alabama fits. So I'm gonna wait and see. But right now, as I sit here, I would choose Alabama. They're so balanced, and Ohio State is too now with Trey Sermon where he's running the ball. But Alabama is so balanced, man. It's just phenomenal to watch them. This offense and the playmakers and how they utilize them and make them better. And that offensive line, those cats have so much fun up front. I mean, you just turn on the film and watch Dickerson, who I know is out with the injury he sustained, at the end of the season. But they are so much fun. And Leatherwood and the rest of those cats, and they block so well. And Mac Jones, phenomenal season. Defensively, they gotten better, but we did see Florida light them up, man. So the pieces are there for Ohio State to make this a tight ball game, and I'm hoping it is. And if Fields is able to extend plays, it could be one for the ages. But right now, I'm leaning Bama.
Ed in San Marcos, a place that you are familiar with, San Marcos, home of the world's largest outlet mall. Ed in San Marcos sends a text and says, ask Brian if it's time for the group of five to have their own playoffs after Cincinnati and the G5 got the shaft by the committee. And BJ, this is a plan. I know I've talked to you about it before. I've had this on my brain since about 2013, 2014, that the committee's never going to let the group of five in. I'm not entirely sure they're going to let them in, even if they go to 8, that they're going to find a way for Cincinnati or whoever to be 9. I've pushed for a group of 5 playoff because I don't think they'll ever be allowed to play for the title by the selection committee. Could you see especially if they go to 8 and the group of 5 is not guaranteed a slot, they don't have an auto bid, could you see a possibility where the group of 5 says, we need to hold our own championships?
Well, first of all, that CFP, they treat those group of 5 teams like that guy you feel sorry for. That's the one you give honorable mention.
Yeah.
That's the guy you feel sorry for. He didn't come in any place. He just got honorable mention. So
BJ, hey, can I tell you a quick story? Speaking of honorable mention, you're talking to the honorable mention All Louisiana Sports Talk show. I'm pretty sure just because I was the only one left that didn't get an award.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to dig up any pain.
Right in my heart, DJ. Right in my heart.
That too, Brute.
Yeah.
Listen, did you watch the Peach Bowl? I mean, Cincinnati and Georgia, there was some slobber knockers going on in that game. What a hell of a football game. It was dramatic. It was hard hitting, and it was entertaining. So Cincinnati proved that they belong, and you can say that's a one-off.
Sure.
I don't believe so. Luke Fickell, who briefly was a teammate of mine with the Saints.
Yeah, nice.
Great dude, is really building this program the right way, along with Marcus Freeman, his defensive coordinator. And both of those guys are hot commodities right now. I think the group of 5 should be proactive and go ahead and do their own damn thing. The hell with the college football playoff. You don't want us to be a part of your party, so bye. We'll go do our own thing. And why shouldn't they?
Well, I think
Quit begging. I know you want to sit at the big boy table.
Yeah.
They don't want you there. How many times do they have to spit in your face for you to get that?
Yeah.
I mean, I go do my own, and, hey, call CBS. I'll send you the phone number, who to call. Let's have a group of 5 championship on CBS.
Yeah. I mean, I think they could make enough money from a television deal to get at least get close to what they're getting in hush money from the playoff right now, from the playoff committee. I think they could get close to that money because, look, would I rather see Boise go play in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, or would I rather see Boise take on BYU in a semifinal? That to me, it makes sense, and you get to play for a championship because right now the ceiling for the group of 5 is one of you gets an Access Bowl, and everyone else enjoy your New Orleans Bowl championship.
Exactly, and it would be compelling. You're telling me Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina, and the way those teams
ULL, throw them in there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm with you. So I don't know why we can't have a meeting of the minds between Mike Oresco, my boy at the AAC, and these other commissioners at the group of 5, and say, hey, we're going to do our own damn thing, and this may apply some pressure to the College Football Playoff Committee and these cats to be more inclusive if the group of 5 commissioners and leagues are proactive and say we're going to do our own thing. This may be, reminiscent NFL, AFL back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, okay, we're not going to continue to beg for crumbs from these cats. We're going to do our own thing, and I'm telling you, can generate you won't. Maybe not as much interest, but you have enough quality teams where we're going to tune in.
Yeah, and the main thing is, can you get enough money? And that's because, as we all know, the hush money is what's really keeping this from happening. The group, the Power Five, gives enough money to the Group of Five to keep them on the hook, basically. So that's where we're at. BJ, you're the best, my friend. I love you to death. You know that. Have fun this weekend. Enjoy the championship on Monday, and look forward to catching up with you here before too long, brother.
Patrick Rogers, love you too, cats, man. Y'all stay safe. Look forward to hugging you next soon.
Peace out, brother BJ.
Okay, guys.
I don't know why I let Hambone have the last word on that one. That's Brian Jones from CBS, college football analyst.